Hey, buddy. Rah. Hey, man, that's a sweet heavy metal happy hour t-shirt. Where'd you pick that up?
Thanks, dude. I got it at the Toxic Radio shop.
Toxic Radio has a shop?
Yeah, dude. It's in the app or online at toxicradio.net.
That is sweet.
Yeah, and I also got a rockin' Toxic Radio hoodie and a Red Band Underground shirt. Dude, I'm gonna look so rockin' at the party tomorrow.
Well, I think you look pretty now.
Oh, wait, what?
The Toxic Radio shop is a place to get all your Toxic Radio gear. Shirts, hoodies, stickers. Find it at toxicradio.net or on the app. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. Hey, where you going, man?
Master, dinner is served. Igor, it's not that I don't appreciate the effort, but you know I prefer my meals uncooked. And how many times have I told you about using garlic? Yes, Master. Forgive me, Master. Please. Bite into Paradelphia. Thursday nights at 8, only on Toxic Radio. Paradelphia, because what if it's all true?
Hi, it's Steve Morrison from the President Steve Show, and you're listening to Toxic Radio. Get infected like you would with a cheap hooker.
What's up? This is Tobin from Papa Roach. You're listening to Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe. Play it toxic.
What's up, everyone? This is Jeremy from Five Finger Death Punch, and you're listening to Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe. Play it toxic.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first edition of Birds Deep. I am the Godfrey, the THEEGODFREY, and I have Gene right next to me. There he is.
What's happening, big dog?
What's up? From Wire to Wire, every Wednesday, 8:30 to 10. That is the correct time, right?
That's correct.
All right, cool. 8:30 to 10. Yeah, we are here launching a Birds podcast that we're going to take deep. And I was kind of inspired to do it. I was hitting Gene up, and he's like, would you like to do it with me? And I'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. Because I know Gene knows football. He loves the Birds. I love the Birds. I think I know football. Maybe I don't. We'll see. Let you guys be the judge of that. And, we're going to have a podcast here that isn't a troll take, isn't a homer take. We're not going to drink all Eagles green Kool-Aid and wear Eagles colored shades. And we're not going to try to get a troll reaction out of people by saying stuff like, I don't know, Elliott Shore Park says and stuff like that. Sorry, ESPN.
Oh, man.
Taking shots right away. Bam. So, I don't know. Don't you feel that way sometimes when you listen to Sports Talk Radio? Like, I enjoy it. I'm more of a WIP guy. Don't you feel sometimes guys are, and I get it, they want to get callers, but you feel like some of these takes are a troll take and not a football take.
I say it all the time. Joe Giglio does it. Elliott Shore Parks does it. Stephen A. Smith does it. Skip Bayless does it. Constantly. They're just, I don't think they believe half the shit they say. Like, do you remember the Skip Bayless, Manti Te'o's the next Ray Lewis?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Like, come on, man.
He's probably still trying to find that take as Manti Te'o's trying to find his girlfriend. So, I mean, I don't know, man. So we kind of want to do a podcast like that, We love the Birds, but we're honest about the Birds, and we're going to dive into, what happened last week. And I'm glad that we're going to be doing this show on a Friday because the dust will have settled. The overreaction will have settled. Some of that definitely happened this past week, and the overreaction to a win that happened in week 1, which was great. But we got to look at it for what it is and kind of curb our expectations. And it's great. Eagles fans, I need you to step up because the first guy commented is a Pats fans. What the fuck is that? But, okay. So, Gene, I felt like the first win was great. Let's keep in mind they also had a first-year head coach. And I think a lot of people will briefly go over the first win. It was good. They did well. But they had a guard on Atlanta Falcons that was a turnstile. And the Eagles had their way with them. They were rushing the passer, which is great. And they had no time to pass. They had no time to get the ball to Pitts or Calvin Ridley. And they could barely run the ball. So you got a 38-6 score. I mean, what was your take on that game? It was a great victory, but did you think it was something that was be expected next week?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I think you've seen a mixture of what you're going to see. Like, they outgained the 49ers. They didn't play worse than the 49ers. They left a lot of points on the field. Versus Atlanta, Atlanta's a bad football team. They're going to be a bad football team all year. I don't think that's really a question. But beating the team 32-6 in their house is, I mean, that's I don't care who it is. It's a professional football team. Whether they had a turnstile guard or a defense that couldn't stop anybody, they're still a professional football team. You beat them 32-6 in their house. Now, San Francisco, they're a little bit more of a veteran team. They have a very good defense. They have experienced quarterback. They're not going to make the same silly mistakes Atlanta makes. So I don't think it was fool's gold, but I thought we overreacted. Nick Sirianni's genius, then he's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. 1 week, Philadelphia Eagles fans are jumping off the Ben Franklin Bridge. The other week, they're climbing Billy Penn to celebrate. So, and which is fine. It's part of the reason why I love, being an Eagles fan. It's the emotions are everywhere. It's just, it's up, it's down. We're dying next week. We're winning the week after that. I'm glad you brought up Fool's Gold, though, because we'll be talking about that later. We'll have a little quick segment. Gene will have, you play fantasy football, right, Gene?
Damn right.
Gene's going to have a guy that's Fool's Gold, and I will have a guy that's Fool's Gold toward the end of the program. Quick little blur, don't be fooled by it because it's not what everybody says it is. So, and it's related to the Atlanta game. One of my guys, I'll give you a hint, the Atlanta team, not the game per se. So, the game in, against San Francisco was interesting because a lot of people said use the tight end, but San Francisco took away the middle of the field. And what kind of scared me about Sirianni, and I'm not super down on him, it's only his second game. I mean, let's give the guy some patience. More than 2 games, is they did take away the middle of the field with the safety play, thus taking away their ability to use tight ends, or at least what they thought they were going to be able to do at the tight end. And, people were like, get the tight end involved, which they should have, but it seems like there was not an in-game adjustment component to the second half. The Eagles seemed to be outcoached, in my opinion. There was some, a little bit of, I think there's a talent gap there, but that is a pretty banged up Niners defense. I mean, they're not as good as the Niners were 2 years ago. You have that D-line, but they've lost people on that D-line. The free agency, DeForest Buckner's not on there anymore. I mean, that was a deep D-line and went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So, I mean, to me, I think Kyle Shanahan kind of outcoached them to a point. I mean, they could have won that game, but should they have won that game with the play? I don't think so.
So, we're like 6 minutes into our first show, and I've disagreed with you on something.
That's okay.
That's fun. So here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I don't like the notion that San Francisco took away the middle of the field. That's impossible to do in the NFL. It's impossible to do in the middle of the field. If you really want to say the middle of the field, it's 30 yards wide. It's 50-yard field. 10 yards would be your sidelines. It's 30 yards wide. You can't take away the middle of the field. What happened was San Francisco adjusted. San Francisco did exactly stopped what we were doing versus Atlanta. And when Nick Sirianni couldn't adjust to that, that is where I agree with you when I say we're outcoached. We got to get the ball to our tight ends. The guys that have the 2 best hands on the entire team are Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. It's not close. It's not close.
Now, Dallas Goedert is definitely a better blocker than Zach Ertz.
Of course.
Doesn't mean that you can't use them both, but I'm starting to wonder, I don't know if it's scheme, I don't know if it's coaching, but when I look at Zach Ertz's contribution, is it becoming a detriment when he's on the field as far as execution of the play, blocking, things of that nature? And it almost seems like he's getting more snaps than he should. I don't know if that's like a management thing or they just believe in Zach because he's been around. I can get that. And, he's a veteran, great reputation, but we really haven't seen good play from Zach Ertz. And I know injury was part of it last year for more than a whole season now, right? I mean,
so all right, let's go with that. Injury was last year.
A lot of injuries last year for him.
This year, particularly, he's not as good a blocker as Dallas Goedert. Much better route runner, quicker. Yeah. I mean, you can argue he has just as good, if not better, hands.
I think they're 2 different types of tight ends.
Correct. So I don't think it's necessarily him being a detriment. I don't think they're using him properly. And if you're not going to use him properly,
so you think it's
fine.
scheme?
100% scheme.
So, the thing that I think they could have won it, and you're bringing it up. I saw you bringing it up online. The overreaction to Jalen Hurts versus Week 1 versus 2. People were saying, "Oh, he's bad. He's not good." After watching a couple Colts games, I'm kind of glad we have him more than the former quarterback because he hasn't looked good, and he has better offensive line. He's been hurt, but speaking of Wentz, but Hurts, you got to give him some time too. It's fair to criticize him for things, but he's still developing. Remember, he's had how many starts? 6, 7?
This would be a 7th start this week.
7th start. I mean, what do we want from him in a team that's in a rebuild mode? I know Eagles fans don't think it's a rebuild, but it is a rebuild. It is a rebuild. They could sell you on it's not a rebuild. It is a rebuild.
I mean, if you don't think it's a rebuild, who's the best player on the team?
I mean, you got to probably go with Lane Johnson, right? I mean,
that's the best player on the team. And that's crazy. Look at all the Super Bowl teams. If it's not a rebuild, who's the best player on the Eagles? And if you're going to say your right tackle that came off being out all last year,
yeah, I mean,
it's a rebuild.
I mean, it's definitely a rebuild. I mean, I guess you could go, yeah, he would have to. I mean, no, we could say Miles Sanders maybe.
I mean, the arguments I hear are Lane Johnson or Fletcher Cox. And yeah, Fletcher Cox has been a ghost this year.
Yeah, but he does swallow up 2 blocks, though, right? I mean,
oh, God. He loves telling everybody about that, too.
But, I mean, defensive tackles by nature, I mean, the problem is you aren't going to get double-teamed if you're that guy, but you do have to break through it, too. I mean, you can't just say, well, I was double-teamed all the time. I mean.
Posted 0 stats versus Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I do feel like D-tackles don't show up on a stat sheet sometimes, but can make an impact still. I don't know if that's the case for the past 2 games, but I do feel like that can be the case for defensive tackles. I don't know if that's what happened with Fletcher Cox the last 2 games, but the Eagles. I think the expectations for the fan base really should be it's a rebuild year, and if you win 7 to 8 games, that's a win. I just don't know where Jalen Hurts is going to go development wise. The criticisms I had of Jalen Hurts last year was, can he push the ball downfield? He has a decent deep ball, but he doesn't have a real strong arm for what I see. It's not a weak arm, but it's not someone like...
It's not Josh Allen. It's not Patrick Mahomes. I get it.
It's not. But he can move in a quarterback. He can move in the pocket. He can move around. He's mobile. He can keep plays alive, extend the play for you, and that's a positive. He could throw on the run, but where I'm seeing a deficiency is I don't think when there is an open guy or there is a play where he can take advantage of, I don't know if he's matured enough where you're like, he's going to get that guy. Because he has identified it, and I don't know if he's fully there yet. He still has to mature.
100%. 7 games in, you can't expect that. We're not walking into Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones and expecting that already. Why would we walk into that with Jalen Hurts? And that's what you expect from a second-round quarterback. I think the NFL has been spoiled with rookie quarterbacks coming in and shining, like Justin Herbert last year and Joe Burrow for the first 2 games. That's not realistic, though. Like, go back to Peyton Manning's year. His first year, he was awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Drew Brees was terrible first 4 years in the league. He almost got cut out of the league.
I also think that in the league, though, in the age of, you don't have anything if you don't have a superstar quarterback for the most part, unless you have a really talented team around that quarterback, you can get away with having an average or slightly above average quarterback. I think GMs...
Not in this NFL.
Well... Yeah, I'm not saying you're going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I'm just saying you could be competitive. And I just feel like some GMs invent stars. And what I mean is, they trade up for stars or they press them into action earlier. I'm a big proponent, and maybe I'm too old school. I think you got to let a guy sit a year, in my opinion. Unless you're so sure he's that blue chipper or the team's so bad you want to give him, the experience. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's not a horrible player. Really down on Urban Meyer from the start, I have been. I mean,
he's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. He's definitely not going to be here next year. I don't care what anybody says. We'll see if he lasts the season. He's going to be taking the Nick Saban Express back to college, in my opinion. Bobby Petrino's going to pick him up at the airport, and I just feel like that's the way that's going to go. But the point of me bringing that up is, sometimes you got to get these guys to develop. And even if they're a blue chip number 1 prospect, surefire, that's what everybody says about Trevor Lawrence. I feel the way about Justin Fields. They're going to have their hiccups in their own. I mean, Peyton Manning's one of the best of all time, and he threw, I believe, more interceptions than touchdowns in his first rookie year by
100%. By a lot.
By a lot. I mean, Eagles fans want that instantaneous gratification, and that's why this town loves the backup quarterback. You remember how much chatter we heard about Gardner Minshew?
Yes.
I wanted to throw up because I know my fellow Eagles fans, most of them have never watched a full Jaguars game. I have because I'm a sick degenerate, and I have Game Pass, and I have Sunday Ticket, and I got to tell you, one key thing that makes me know that a quarterback isn't a guy that can lead a team is when he goes up against a bad team and can't take advantage of that matchup. And the game last year that let me know that Gardner Minshew was not the guy is when he played an awful Texans team. Yes, they had Deshaun Watson, but the defense was awful, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. They purely brought him in because when they had a quarterback in the playoffs, and Howie said it, and I believe him, it was it like the last 4 times they've been in the playoffs, they had to use their backup quarterback or something like that? Is that the stat? Last 4 times been in the playoffs?
Yes.
So,
That's 3.
So remember what happened last time.
Well, yes, you're right, 4. You're right, 4.
Right. So remember what happened last time. They had old man Josh McCown in, and he was doing okay. But remember, toward the end of the play, there was a wide open end zone run that any average quarterback with a full healthy leg would have got, including himself. He blew his hamstring. They're thinking, man, if that happens again, we're bringing Minshew off the bench. I mean, I really thought he was here to be the third string. And Joe Flacco is still a second string, is he not?
He is.
Yeah, I mean, and I heard for a whole week from Eagles fans about how Gardner Minshew is going to be starting week 6. I'm like, are we fucking going down this road?
Oh, but I can't talk to Eagles fans like that. I can't talk to Eagles. See, it's tough for me because I have like a realistic point of view. Like I'm a natural optimist. Like I love the Eagles and I want them to win every Sunday. And as much as I disagree with decisions made by Howie Roseman, I'm a natural optimist. The problem is I can't talk to people that don't know the game and just say silly things like that. This season is you need to find out 3 things. 1, you need to find out if Jalen Hurts the guy. You have 3 first-round draft picks next year. So if he's not the guy,
you get 3 if Carson survives 75%.
You have 3 first-round draft picks next year.
So that's your optimism kicking in.
Damn right.
Okay.
2.5. You have to find out if Nick Sirianni is the coach.
Yep.
And you have to find out if Justin Gannon can be a defensive coordinator. There are 3 things you have to find out this year. You have to find those things out. So you let the guy start all 17 games, and you see what you have. You know what you have in Joe Flacco. You know what you have in Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
They're just backup quarterbacks. They're going to help the guy develop.
Yep.
That's what they are.
I also think the Eagles picked him up to block the Cowboys from getting a decent backup because the Cowboys thought he was going to be cut from what I read, and they were just going to pick him up, and the Eagles said, we'll trade for him. Howie likes doing those little sneak moves on interdivisional opponents, which I think is kind of great. Laura, with our first deep take of the show, can't expect immediate greatness from a rookie quarterback, no matter how talented they are, especially when his surrounding teammates are playing mediocre. Do you agree with that, Gene?
Yes and no. Laura makes a solid point. I just don't think his teammates are playing mediocre right now. I actually think a lot of so who's playing mediocre?
Yeah, I mean,
offensively, have they dropped a ton of balls? No.
Well, let me ask you: how did you feel about that Jalen Reagor play? Do you feel like he should have had more presence of mind, or you feel like he got out muscled and pushed out of balance?
I feel like it was illegal contact. I feel like exactly what Nick Sirianni said. I feel like it was a very smart play by the cornerback.
Right.
He didn't go out of balance on his own. He got pushed out of balance.
That was a veteran cornerback he was playing against?
100%.
Veteran move for sure. Veteran quarterbacks are very crafty, and they know how to pull off PI or illegal contact where they know where the ref is, and if they can, they will do that out of the ref's line of sight. Hopefully the other field judge catches it, but they don't all the time. I mean, I think the last game was a lack of adjustments by the offensive coaching staff. I think the defense played pretty decent, actually.
100%.
I don't think that the offense was pretty vanilla. But the thing is I want to see Quez Watkins get more involved. I want to see Jalen Reagor get more involved underneath. I want to see the tight ends get more involved underneath. I want to see Gainwell get a little bit more carries. Miles Sanders, I think, is a good back. Let me ask you this question, Gene. Do you think Miles Sanders is a legitimate 20-plus touch a game back?
No.
I do not either. I'm glad you said that. We actually agree on that. I think Eagles fans have been misled or misleading. Do you think he's a top 10 running back?
No.
Top 15?
He's on the borderline.
Right, and I think 100%. I was getting yelled at Eagles group. I was like, no, he's not a top 15 back. He's right there, and they're like, no, he is. Miles Sanders is great, but understand he's good, but understand that why does Boston Scott exist?
Boston Scott is if one of those running backs get hurt.
Right.
I think that. So I said this on Wire to Wire. I'll say it again. I think that by this time next year, you're starting running backs Kenneth Gainwell.
I don't disagree.
I think he is a guy that can get 20 plus carries.
He's not as big as I thought. I thought he was 5'11". He's really about 5'9", right?
Let me get you the exact number.
I mean,
I'd rather give
he
you
seems
the
taller
exacts.
than Miles. See, Miles Sanders, he gets hurt all the time during games. I'm not criticizing him for it, but doesn't it feel like there's key points of the game where he's not in the game? Like he's on the sideline. Like I remember that a lot it was the year before last year, and last year
he had an ankle injury, 2019. He was out a lot. That's why Boston Scott was in.
Well, wasn't it the Giants game last year?
5'8".
5'8". Okay.
5'8", 201.
Man, see,
201's not small,
5'8" is that man? It's just that's like the equator for being just big enough or small enough to be a back. Like look at CHE. He's having problems. And
You talking about CEH?
yeah, CEH.
Clyde Edwards Hilaire. He's not really having problems. He just doesn't have a spot in that offense.
Yeah,
Outside that fumble was his first fumble in the league, by the way.
it is. But Andy Reid doesn't play that, and he's probably in a doghouse right now.
Probably. They lost the game because of it.
Yeah. So Miles Sanders, not a big back. I mean, he's serviceable, and I think he's good. I'm just saying, Eagles fans look at him like he's a top 10 back, and he's not.
He's not.
I mean,
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, do you get that from the fan base too? That
I mean, listen, Philadelphia, New York, major sports cities,
hype up their draft
they
picks.
overact.
Mhm.
So, like, when you ask pure when you ask pure baseball people who the most overrated player of all time is, they say Derek Jeter. And like, I'm not trying to be a smart ass when I say that, but like Philadelphia, New York, Boston, they hype up their athletes a ton.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. I get you. I agree with you on the Derek. The New York. And it's funny you say that because I call it the New York bump with the athletes. You know, anytime a New York athlete gets drafted, oh, he's going to be great. And Philadelphia does that kind of like internally, though. You know, within.
No one likes us. We don't care.
Yeah, no one likes us. But so, you know, when we were talking about Miles Sanders and a lot of people were up, relating him to fantasy football, everybody's like, oh, he's a top 10 back. I'm like, nope. And no, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? So, what are some key takeaways that you had from the game besides the other ones you're talking about? I know you were telling me that the loss of Brooks, like, how do you think that's gonna affect us?
So Brandon Brooks, when healthy, is the best right guard in football. It's to me, it's not a question.
But he's had a lot of trouble staying healthy.
100%
over the last 3 years.
100%. But
which I was upset with I wasn't upset with that draft pick because of the skill. I was upset with the draft pick because of his injury history and Brandon Brooks having a bet. He's his replacement.
Landon Dickerson is a replacement for Jason Kelsey.
Is he?
He's a center / guard. He's playing guard this week. Landon Dickerson is everybody would want him on your team. The problem is, yes, he has 3 torn ACLs, isn't it? Or 2 torn ACLs, and then he has 3 season-ending injuries.
You know what? And it might not ever be a problem. It just the ghost of Sidney Jones comes back in my mind when I saw that pick. I was like, oh.
You talking about a guy that tore his ACL? It's playing in week 2.
Yeah, well,
you can't like.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm not questioning.
Sidney Jones basically got redshirted his
first year.
Yeah,
that was You know how many backs the Eagles missed out on in that year? We're going with Sidney Jones. Aaron Jones was in the 5th round that year. Just to let you know, 5th round, Aaron Jones.
I was a big Dalvin Cook guy that year.
I would have loved to have him too.
Problem is Dalvin Cook got picked like right before us. Minnesota traded up to take him like right before us.
Yep.
I think
Alvin Kamara went that year too in the 3rd round.
I would have took Dalvin Cook in the 1st round. I don't really care where he got slated. I wanted him over Derek Barnett that year.
Yeah.
I really love Dalvin Cook though. Dalvin Cook's your running back. You don't have to worry about the running back position.
Derek Barnett, do you think? What do you think of him right now? He seems to make a lot of bonehead penalties. You think that's overblown?
No, it's not. I think he's trying really hard to make an impact on a team that really just has never really found a spot for him. He's got when you get outplayed by Josh Sweat and Josh Sweat gets that contract, you almost had to see that coming.
And I think that was a great value contract for the organization. Some people are saying it was a horrible contract. I disagree, but what's your take?
You want to talk about a value contract? I'll tell you a value contract. the contract they got for Jordan Mailata.
Mm.
I mean, if this knee sprain isn't that bad, but the value contract they got for Jordan Mailata, he's the #1 rated offensive lineman in football. The first 2 weeks, he's dominating people.
Both contracts Joe Banner approved, and we know he knows how to wrangle the money.
Yeah, you have to get them early, and you got to get them young, and you extend them before they have a chance to build their value.
Didn't they do that with Zach Ertz too?
They did.
Anyway, wasn't really happy toward the end because of that, but it's just
Correct.
he signed a contract. So Brandon Brooks is gone for. Is he gone for the season? That
No, he's gone
6
for
weeks?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
8
okay.
weeks.
Yeah.
But I think Landon Dickerson will do a fine job filling in. I really do. I think the bigger issue is if Mailata can't play Monday. That's your bigger issue.
So how much faith do you not have in Andre Dillard?
He stinks.
Okay.
See, like, all right, I was just talking about this earlier.
Not a capable backup, at least. Forget that he's a first rounder.
No, not right now. He doesn't have the toughness to be an offensive lineman in the NFL. And that's the issue. I was talking about this earlier. I'm dead serious when I say this. We were talking about Richie Incognito still being in the league. And we were talking about, like, how, wow, he's still in the league. And the hazing that he brought down in Miami.
He's a tough son of a bitch.
Tough. And whether it was right or wrong, or whether hazing's right or wrong, like, I played high school football. Like, hazing happens. If shit in that locker room got out, that wouldn't be good anywhere. And, like, toughening up players, if you can't do that, it's just a softer league. It just is. Andre Dillard's soft. And that's the problem. And I think what they were going to do when he got injured is they literally said he got injured during training camp after Jordan Mailata won the job. And I thought they were going to try to, like, hide the fact that Howie made another really bad first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, he's not. And I think Howie is just he's whiffed on too many. That's why fan base is upset with him. How many first rounders has he whiffed on? I mean, I don't think I have enough fingers on both my hands now.
I mean, I can go through it for days.
Yeah,
I post this all the time.
Yeah, it's and then he finds Jordan Mailata, right? Which is great. But you need to find a guy like that and hit on the first round.
I have a theory on that.
What's your theory?
So normally, with a lot of NFL franchises, the owner and the general manager have a lot of say in the first 2 rounds, and then the scouts are really like your bread and butter for the rest of the draft. The big names, like you put them on your big board, and that's the picks that you get known for. And I really feel like there's a lot of meddling going on in Philadelphia. Like, you look at the receiving corps, ready?
Yeah.
They wanted speed. Who's their possession receiver? They don't have one. They went from being a team full of possession receivers that can't stretch the defense to a team full of just speed guys. Who catches that slant across the middle?
Yep.
175-pound Devontae Smith?
Yeah,
Jalen Reagor? They're all burners.
Jalen Reagor isn't as fast, though, as he was advertised, though, it seems like, does it?
I mean, I haven't seen it. I mean, I'd like to say, I've seen it at TCU. TCU, his sophomore year, before he got the horrible quarterback his junior year. And then, I don't know who gave him the advice that he wanted to bulk up before the combine when he ran a 4.42. When he was running in-game speed was a 4.2, which was insane. Yeah, I don't know. He's got some bad advice. Some bad advice from people.
Jalen Reagor?
Yeah.
What do you mean as far as?
As far as bulking up, not like relying on your speed, that's what you were.
Yeah.
You were Rondell Moore. That's what you were. Rondell Moore is what he should have been.
Yeah. Receivers need a quarterback, too, to be able to unlock their potential, too. It's one of the most dependent positions in football. But I don't think that's Jalen Hurts' fault at all, actually. And I don't. It's just like
it's not Hurts' fault. It's not Wentz's fault.
Yeah,
it's Jalen's fault.
It's definitely Jalen's fault.
J-Jaw still isn't on the field.
Who?
J-Jaw.
Oh my God.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, go through the picks just for fun. Like, I'm not like trying to be a smartass. This year they got Devontae Smith. Okay, we'll see. I don't think he's gonna be terrible. I love Devontae Smith, but like, just go through it. Last year it was Reagor and Jalen Hurts. So let's see what Jalen Hurts is. We don't know yet. The year before that it was J-Jaw and Andre Dillard. Like,
yeah.
Go through it. These guys aren't even on the field. You can't draft Derek Barnett and Sidney Jones. Let's keep going.
I think Eagles fans' feelings were perfectly encapsulated by the video that they didn't want seen. Was that Tom Donahoe?
Yeah.
His reaction after the Milton pick. Milton, what was it? Milton,
Third
third rounder. Wasn't, and I think Howie gets in love with the measurables at Pro Days because he was definitely a combine star. If you read up his draft report or, his draft mock-up and where, what people were impressed with. And maybe he ends up being great, but I just don't, you just can't get away with that for long. It's almost like the Phillies are playing football too. I mean, they're horrible with their first-round draft picks, and it's a lot harder to hit in baseball, I think, than football. But, yeah. So, speaking of trash, we're going to mention a sponsor of the show, and, since stinky, smelly trash is probably the best way we could describe the first and second round and sometimes third round picks by Howie Roseman, biobombs.com, right? Did you know that the average person spends 18 days a year inside their car? That's 8.5 hours a week, drinking, smoking, traveling with pets, farting after eating Taco Bell, different smelly people sitting in your car, all that kind of crazy shit. Your empty beer bottles, whatever, not while you're driving. Air fresheners, they cover it up, they mask it. Those smells sometimes, they only make the odors worse, right? Because they're masking it up, and then you walk in your car one day after a hot summer day, and you're like, what the hell is that smell? So, go to biobombs.com because I've used these myself. It's pretty easy, and it employs science, not fragrance, which means fragrance. It's not covering up the odor. So eliminate any and all traces of the odor. Check my boys out over at biobomb.com to help you get rid of that hard-to-eliminate odor. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. And cat pees in your car, bet you gets rid of it. You buy a car, it ends up being a smoker's car. Someone smokes in your car. Anything you could think of, moving to a place has a bad smell. Hopefully the landlord takes care of that. Or if you buy a place, and that's what they're good for. But check our guys out at biobombs.com. They are our official sponsor today of the show. Thank you, biobombs.com, as you guys just saw on the website. So back to non-smelly things. Eagles game this week, rivalry week. First off, I want to ask you this. I was curious because I haven't had to ask you this. I hate the Cowboys, but it is not my number one Eagles rivalry.
Here's the Giants.
Yes.
Yeah.
NFL ranked top 10. I'm just going to put this out there. I don't know if it's changed. They did top 10 rivalries in the NFL. You know what number one was?
I would guess it should be Packers Bears.
Eagles Giants was number one on our list.
That's wrong.
That wasn't a Philadelphia list.
I get it. It's wrong.
I'm telling you.
Look, I'm first of all,
Packers Bears was in the top 10.
Eagles Cowboys, in my opinion, is a bigger rivalry. I hate the Cowboys more, and I'll tell you why. There's nothing worse than a Philadelphia Cowboys fan. Like nothing in the whole entire world.
Can't disagree.
They're awful. They're all like, and then you ask them, and you're like, "Well, why do you like the Cowboys?" Well, I really like the star. Shut up. Yeah, my dad was a Cowboys fan. He was a fan of Roger Staubach.
Yeah,
Shut
your
up.
pappy was front running in the 70s when the Eagles were trash juice.
Exactly.
Or you were a Steelers fan.
Or you're a born hater. Yeah. I don't mind Steelers fans and Giants fans. They're local. You can go watch them play. Half these Cowboys fans from Philadelphia never been to Dallas, ever.
True. That's why Dallas fans will be like, that are from Dallas, will be like, why do they hate us so much? But there are on-field reasons for it. Like there was a dirty hit that ended the Harold Carmichael streak of consecutive catches, I believe. So there is an on-field thing between the players and the organizations that exist outside of that.
They're NFL rivals. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, division. It's the Giants for me, probably because I grew up in Central Jersey, and I got a lot of trash talk from Giants fans, and I'll never forget. It was, I don't know if you remember this game where they had a NYPD Blue mock-up scene of someone putting in a complaint of men in green getting beat up by men in blue. And I'll never forget, it was 9-3. Giants were letting them hang around. And then James Stinkin' Trash catches the touchdown from Donovan, and they win 10-9. I was in a house full of Giants fans, and I was like, yeah! So I love when they beat the Cowboys. I can't stand the Cowboys either. But for me, it's the Giants versus the Eagles. I have a lot more of a real-life application there, and the NFL agrees with me for now. Here's the thing. When they saw that top 10 list, I saw the rivalry, and I almost feel like it's more about length of the rivalry with them. I don't feel like it had any defining moments like the Eagles-Giants rivalry had. And what I mean is the Frank Gifford hit. You had the Miracle in the Meadowlands twice.
Three
the
times.
Brian Westbrook one, right?
You can call it twice. It's 3 times. I
Yeah.
hate how they just ignore the Westbrook punt return.
And that's another one. So my former stepfather was a Giants fan. I was sitting next to him on the couch. He was talking smack. Westbrook takes back the punt, and that's that. And I was doing the Cabbage Patch in the living room. So, I mean, so do you think the Birds have a shot at winning this week?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
The line is
3.5.
3.5. So from a betting perspective, would you take the 3.5 with the Birds?
I don't like betting on the Eagles.
I have the same policy.
it monitors, it changes like my heart. My heart's involved. I'm too involved with the team.
You can't honestly bet it. If it's
My
your home
rule is 3.5 and 2.5. And when it's 3.5, they're trying to get you to bet the Eagles, which is not a good
I don't
sign.
like that half hook. That half-point hook bothers the shit out of me.
Because they're trying to get you to bet on the Eagles.
Yeah.
If Vegas wants you to bet on the Eagles, it's not good. 2.5 means they're trying to get you to bet on the Cowboys. So I don't like the line, but I still think the Eagles have a definite chance of winning the game. I looked at numbers before we got here. It's like 54-46 betting odds. So the Cowboys are getting 54% of the money. Eagles are getting 46%. It's not crazy, but I think that the Eagles are. So like, let me ask you a question: where does Dallas dominate the game? If the Eagles don't win the game, where does Dallas dominate the game?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you said to me, this is going to be the Eagles' biggest test so far as a defensive unit.
100%.
And that's what kind of scares me because I have to admit, I'm not a – Dak Prescott has won me over the last couple of years.
Okay.
And as far as skill, and I have seen him get progressively better.
He has.
I'm not saying he –
And if you can't admit that, you're really not watching.
Yeah. I mean, at first I thought he had a lot of trouble passing and pushing the ball down the field, and I still say when they're down by a lot, he has a trouble when the defense knows he has to pass, but he's gotten better at it. And I think he's looked good so far. And I just kind of feel like I'm CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, and there's certain things, how is the defense going to hold up on that? You also got Amari Cooper, who loves to torch the Eagles every time they play.
Not since Darius Slay been here.
Yeah, well,
Darius Slay
that's true.
has owned him his entire career. So what I do if I'm the Eagles defense, there's no Michael Gallup, he's hurt. Amari Cooper still might not play. He's questionable.
Yeah.
But let's just say he does play. I man up Darius Slay and Amari Cooper like I have the last 2 times they've played. And, his career versus Darius Slay is terrible. I don't think he's got 10 receptions in 5 games.
We're going to need big game Slay.
And I double CeeDee Lamb every play.
By the way, if you think the Eagles are going to win, I would bet the plus 149 that I'm seeing and maybe buy down. Well, now I see -3 now. I'm on scoresandodds.com, but
okay.
It
That's good.
Depends where you're going to get the bet at, but I would, if you think you're going to win, bet the money line and then take the points and maybe they lose, but they cover. So I kind of like pulling that off sometimes, but 149 I think might be a good value. This is where I think they can attack offensively.
Okay.
So the Cowboys don't have DeMarcus Lawrence. That is people don't realize that's a huge loss for them. That is their push on the defensive line. I know, would you argue that that's their best defensive player? And, I know Micah Parsons is there, but he's only 2 games in.
Yes, he's their best defensive player right now.
Yeah.
But
he's out.
In the Eagles' perspective, he's not the most important player to stop us. The most important player to stop us is the fact that, and Cottrell brought it up on the show, I think it's actually a really genius point. They've been using Keanu Neal as a hybrid linebacker, Micah Parsons. They're both very, very fast linebackers, and they're going to spy Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we're going to have to win this football game is throwing from the pocket.
And who they should be throwing to, I know this sounds vanilla and old, they should be throwing to the tight ends because the Cowboys for years have not been able to cover the tight ends.
Because they're bigger. The Eagles tight ends are bigger than who will be guarding them.
And who loves to play well against Dallas? Dallas Goedert.
100%.
And I think that's going to be your key offensively where you're going to pick up those third downs. If you're going 3rd and long, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, you're probably going to have to go to Dallas Goedert. They're probably going to be waiting for it, but they're not good in coverage, and that's across the board. I mean, there was a lot of plays called back in that Chargers game for the Cowboys But the Donald Parham caught a touchdown that was called back. Jared Cook caught a touchdown that was called back. The tight ends were getting off on them.
The Chargers got robbed in that football game.
They did get robbed. But here's the other thing defensively, too, where I think that Micah Parsons had a great game, but he's getting a little bit more credit than he should. Brian Beluga was out. Or Balaga, right? They were using his replacement as a turnstile. I mean, they were abusing this man. He was not up to the task, and that's where they were bringing the pressure a lot of the time. I mean, am I wrong? Did you see anything else?
No, you're out. Justin Herbert felt like he had somebody in his lap the entire game.
And they still almost won it.
Austin Eckler caught 9 balls out of the backfield, if that tells you how much they were checking down.
Yeah, and he's not no Sam Darnold. He's not checking down. By the way, I got to call it Dante. Comparing Trevor Lawrence already to Sam Darnold is just outright lunacy.
He's been on that take for a while. He wants to be right. It's fine. Let him listen. So far, Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked great, and you want to. I guess he just wants to. He wants to be right. Let him be right. Let listen. In 2 years, you'll know. You'll know. So like at this point, it's fine. That's what he sees. He watches a lot of football. I give him all the credit in the world. I don't see it the same way. I see a guy that's got an incredible arm that has no offensive line right now and has a really poor head coach right now.
So this is where I think the Eagles can attack. And tell me what your take is on this. Defensively, La'el Collins being out 5 games is huge for them.
I agree with that.
Very huge. Okay.
You want to talk about a guy who needs to make a statement? Derek Barnett. He's going to be lined up right across from him.
Yeah, he does need to make a statement. He's needed to make a statement for 5 years now, though. Although he did help recover the one that put the Super Bowl. So listen,
I mean, it bounced in his lap, but yes.
It did bounce, but he was still there. He was still there. I mean, it bounced. I mean, it was right there for Herm Edwards too, but that was,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just goes that way. BG though, he's the one that made it happen.
Man, that's a hurt piece. Just, I'm glad he'll be on the sideline still.
Mm-hmm.
But that guy, I've met him multiple times. He is the most positive, smiling guy. He's awesome. I love Brandon Graham.
You know why I like him? Because when he got picked, I was actually at the Eagles draft party in the stadium, and I remember people were pissed because they didn't take JPP. And
Earl Thomas.
It was Earl Thomas?
Yes.
Well, JPP went after that too, though, and
they wanted Earl Thomas.
They did? Okay.
Earl Thomas was the guy that the Eagles fans wanted forever.
But JPP, I liked JPP too, but I would have been okay with Earl Thomas as well. Okay. But they felt that Brandon Graham was a reach. They didn't like him. For the first 3 years, it was kind of right? But he stuck through it. He didn't bitch, and he made something out of it. And I got to respect him. I got to respect him for that.
He hustles every play.
Yeah,
he's positive attitude, positive influence in the locker room. You have those locker room guys. It's funny because Earl Thomas is probably a Hall of Famer. But if you ask any coach who they'd rather have in their locker room, a Brandon Graham and Earl Thomas, like look at Earl Thomas' career.
Yeah.
Dropped the F-bomb at Pete Carroll. Cursed out Baltimore.
Didn't he
got cut?
Was he the one to give the finger on the field?
Yes,
on the
that
was
yeah. I mean, listen, he's great safety, but Brandon Graham is just an all-everything guy. He's a great franchise guy. He's great for your community. Great football player. And the biggest moment ever in Eagles sports history, guess what? He made that play. The one time we need to stop. By the way, where's that Patriots fan that was commenting earlier? The one time we need to stop Tom Brady.
I still can't believe that game happened. I just had an eerie feeling the Eagles were going to win, and I never do in a spot like that. And why I had an eerie feeling is that going into that game, I never felt so much confidence from Eagles fans. Like I remember 2004, it was, but with that, everybody felt so damn confident about it. I'm like, this is weird. I took the bet on it and I won, but Jesus, I mean,
St. Nick, man.
Yeah, Big Dick Nick as they call him, right? I think, speaking of Nick Foles, I know what would get Carson Wentz back on the field immediately is if Frank Reich made a call to the Bears and traded for Nick Foles. He'd be like, I'm healed. Not to say he's faking it. He's hurt legitimately. Let's talk about what are the odds, and I know you're an optimist here, but let's be a realist for a second.
Okay.
What are the odds of that first-round pick sticking?
75%.
You think it's 75%?
I do.
So he needs to play 70 or 75% of snaps.
Yes, 75% or 70 if they make the playoffs.
70 to make the playoffs. And they got a stout D. They got a good.
I think he plays this week.
You think he's gonna play?
He practiced today.
Limited or was it full? It was limited.
Full practice. Right? Well, limited. Yeah, it's always limited.
Well,
Friday's the limited practice.
My fantasy
regardless.
team hopes he's playing because I have Michael Pittman on a team, so don't have any shares.
Jacob Eason stinks.
Yeah, he does. If Jacob Eason plays, that's bad. But rumor is that they're going to sign Ben Simmons as a backup quarterback because he can pass. But that's about it. So yeah, he's on his way to Indy right now, and Indianapolis Burke for him. BG is the anti-Ben Simmons. So yeah, that's a whole nother show. But Ben Simmons is probably the worst example of a Philadelphia athlete I've seen in a long.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Long time. Anyway, this isn't a basketball show, but it just made me think of that. So I think the Eagles have a shot at winning. However, let's make our picks for this game real quick.
Okay.
Who are you picking?
Eagles.
Eagles. Okay, I'm picking Dallas. I want the Eagles to win. If I'm looking at it from what I've seen so far on the field, I don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to do in a big-time game. And I feel like this is not too early to say this is a must-win because of their upcoming schedule. Am I wrong?
I mean,
they're
no game is must-win this year because they're not making Super Bowl.
You're right. Or the playoffs. I mean,
they might make the playoffs.
Maybe. But if they're going to make the playoffs, they need to win this game, though. I mean, we're looking at the schedule coming up. I mean,
they could lose to Tampa. They could lose to Kansas City. They could lose to Dallas.
Well,
they can go 2-4.
If they get to the playoffs, they're going to have to win a division, don't you think?
Yes.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Because I feel like 3 teams.
Who's running away with the division?
I don't think anybody. I feel like
you play them again in Philadelphia. I don't think it's a must-win, but I got you.
Okay.
Every time you play Dallas, to me, it's a must-win. But
sure.
Outside that.
Sure. Well, I mean, I never agree with that mentality that, it's a good year as long as you beat Dallas twice, but I get it. Just because, God, I don't want to suffer through a long season like that. But if it happens, it happens. I'm not expecting much from the Eagles this year. I'm just looking for positive signs. Okay, so what's your grade on Nick Sirianni so far? It's early. It's not a final judgment, but let's just pretend it's the first quarter of the year and it's a report card.
B-.
B-? I feel like that's fair. I'm right around the same area because I've seen.
You can't not give him an A for the first week. So what's the worst you can give him for? You can't give him an F for week 2.
I can't give him an A overall because.
No, I'm saying you can't not give him an A for the first week.
Do you feel like the shirt thing's kind of corny?
Yes.
It's
very corny.
I hate that he did that. I can't.
I don't hate that he did it. I just think it's corny.
Man, I don't like when my coach is gimmicky like that. I'm over it.
He's trying to win over the fan base, man. I love his attitude. Very positive.
Yeah,
very rah-rah. I love that he took accountability on Angelo Monday morning after the loss.
Mm-hmm.
His second game as a head coach.
Yeah.
Never even called plays before.
So your fans are overreacting on him that think he's horrible already.
No, he's not horrible. He's not horrible. He's not great. He's incomplete.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I think he's got potential. I like him because I think he's willing to adjust and he's willing to coach the players up. I felt like last year with Doug, what we were missing, what the Eagles were missing as a franchise is, I felt like Doug wasn't coaching up some of the younger players to a point.
Completely disagree.
Disagree? Okay. Why do you disagree?
I feel like last year we were missing was 85% of our starting offense.
The line, you mean? Well, the line.
85% of our starting offense.
I agree. However,
they had 2 starters.
So I was
2.
Yeah, I think that made a huge factor. And I was a big Carson Wentz guy, and I started to turn the tide on him about 4 months ago.
Why? Because Philadelphia reporters don't like him?
No, that's not why. I was with him. You could check my Facebook. I was with him till the bitter end. But when I started, there's some habits I started seeing some regression in his game, and I don't know if that was the offensive line because of the situation last year. His offensive line is good in Indianapolis right now, right?
It's not, though. He lost his left. So his starting left tackle tore his ACL right before the season started.
But you got
his backup left tackle
is also hurt.
Is out.
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson missed all training camp preseason. Give him a couple weeks to get.
Eric Fisher's back though.
This week.
Yeah,
he wasn't back last week.
Okay.
And if you didn't listen, I was at Dave & Buster's, so I got to watch that game. Like I actually watched it. Like, unlike a lot of Eagles fans that just looked at, he lost, haha. Bro, every time he dropped back, someone was in his lap.
I went on the win because I went that first-round pick.
Yeah. Every time he dropped back, someone was in his lap. I think he played hero ball that entire game. I think he played amazing.
But see, here's the thing. I think sometimes
outside the shovel pass, which is terrible.
Yeah, I think playing hero ball is what gets him in trouble sometimes.
It's fair.
I also think he's not smart with his contact where he plays hero ball in that way, where you can't always avoid that as a quarterback. But I do think sometimes
he's fragile.
He takes awful hits. I'm not even. Listen, I think everybody's fragile
exactly.
kind of when you're playing quarterback, but especially football. I mean, it's just a tough sport. There's a lot of injuries. There's just no way around it, right? But I do feel that when I look at him, the criticism that I started to see to come fruition more and more as it went on, and I want to see how that plays out. Well, let's give him a pass for the first 2 games and wait for Indy to get fully running on all cylinders. I do feel like he was holding onto the ball too long.
Yeah.
And I think that's his problem. And, I can give you an example of someone who had that problem and then fixed it. Kurt Warner, in between these 2 successful stints, had a problem with holding on to the ball too long.
Fair.
And so you can fix that. But the question is it a mechanics thing or is it...
It's not a mechanics thing.
If it's not a mechanics thing and it's a head thing where he's... And I'm not saying a head like he's weak mentally. I'm saying it's a head thing like there's some players that don't compute quick enough at quarterback to get the ball out of their hand. I don't know if it's that or not. I mean, it remains to be seen. And I don't know if that happened. The one thing I do think that people discount about Carson and what happened to him versus when he was really great in 2017, I think after the knee injury, he absolutely lost a step, a tiny step. And I think that ability to escape like he had isn't as effective as it was.
I got news for all the Carson fans, all the Carson haters or fans or whatever. 2017 wasn't even his best statistical season.
It wasn't.
2018 was. 2019, he drug a team of practice squad players to the playoffs.
2017, I think it was a pretty damn good statistical
because they won games.
Yeah, but they blew people out. They won games. I hear you on that. And I remember, I wasn't off the Carson bandwagon until 3-4 months ago.
Okay.
So I was like,
I'm not on or off a bandwagon. I just see what I see, and I call it how it is.
So statistically, are you sure 17 wasn't better? I think 17 was better than 18, 19.
Please pull it up.
All right. Now, one thing I do notice, 17, 18, 19, the sacks went up every year incrementally, and they really increased last year by a lot because they were injured, and you had, what was that guy's name that was a turnstile, the guy to play guard? Was it the Ravens game or the Pittsburgh game?
So there was too many turnstiles on that line. They were on their 3rd right guard, and that's who you're talking about. He got cut. I
can't remember his name.
I forget his name too. It doesn't matter. He doesn't deserve a name. They were on their 3rd right tackle. They were on their 3rd left tackle. Jason Peters was awful. They had no wide receivers to speak of. I come on. It's 2019. He drug a group of practice squad players to the playoffs, and we're going to talk about him like
17. I think is so. This is his stats. 17. Okay. He got hurt. Remember, 2 games left. Or was it 3 games?
3 games left. He got hurt in game 13.
33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yes.
101 rating. 32.96 yards. We'll say.
Okay.
3,300.
Played 11 games.
60% completion percentage.
Yep. He played 11 games in 18.
69%.
So 9% higher completion percentage? Okay.
3,000 yards.
So more yards per game.
21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yep. Same amount interceptions, less touchdowns.
Rating 102.
Better rating.
19. He played all. Did he? No, he didn't
play all 16.
Did he play all 16?
All 16. He got knocked out in the playoffs.
Okay. 4,000 yards. Rating was 93. 63%, and again 7.
Led the league in drop balls, 2019.
Oh yeah, well the receivers
led the league in drop balls in 2019.
Yeah, he didn't have
garbage.
They didn't do him any favors with the weapons. I agree. There's no doubt about that. I just don't know, man. We'll see. I mean, that's the fun of watching these games, right? We're gonna see who's right or wrong. Because, and I want him to be successful because I want the 1st round pick.
Fair. I want see, and a lot of people that are in the Carson Wentz bandwagon aren't in the Jalen Hurts bandwagon. I'm not. I want Jalen Hurts to be great. I want to root for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't get why does it have to be one or the other? Why does it have to be one or the other? I don't get that. Like
I just don't hate Carson Wentz.
And that goes back to Philly fans love the backup because people couldn't admit that Nick Foles, and it played out. I'm sorry. He's a streaky quarterback. And he got on a hot streak. People always forget that he was trash juice up until the fucking Vikings game. He was not.
You're absolutely correct.
He was not playing good ball. He was missing people. And then it magically turned on. And then he duels it out with the GOAT. I mean, he was, and then people were like, "Oh, it's Nick Foles, it's Nick Foles," and then he came back in the next year, and he didn't play really, really well. In the Saints game, he played like trash in the playoff game. Did he play well in that Saints game? Nick Foles.
He didn't play bad in the playoff game versus Saints. They could have won that game if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop that ball. That's pretty bad.
Fair point. However, it wasn't nearly his best game, and it wasn't his worst. But when I watched that game, there were throws he was missing that I just didn't see him miss. When he's streaky, when he's on, he's hot.
100%.
And we saw that before when he was on the team before. And people were like, "Oh no!" All the Eagles fans thought after 2017 that it was you put Foles in, you plug him in, and we're going back to the Super Bowl. I mean, would you agree that the 17 team was a one-off?
No.
So you thought they were built for multiple years?
I thought 2018 they could have easily made a run back to the playoffs. I think that a lot of bad things
I don't
happened
disagree
that year.
with that. I do think that the key to the 17 Eagles that goes underrated.
The three-headed monster at running back, offensive line being healthy.
Very, very deep team, and they hit on a lot of one-year signings.
That's fair. Patrick Robinson.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. I mean,
I knew you were.
Yeah, Patrick Robinson, Howie Long, not Howie Long. Jesus
Chris
Christ.
Long.
Chris Long.
His kid.
Yeah, his
Fine.
kid. Chris Long. Same family. Chris Long. Who? There was another one that was a great one-year signing. I mean, it was a great signing to bring Nick Foles back that year, right? I mean, I was talking about that because I was like, that's a great backup to have.
100%.
Howie hit on a lot of cheap one-year signings. Some of those guys left after 18, and injuries got him a little bit. Carson. I think Carson tried to come back too early, and I think that hurt him. And I think
I'll never blame a player for being a warrior.
I won't either. But there is a fine line, isn't there? Like where you want to fight for your teammates, but you want to help them, and you want to do what's best for your body because you need to be out there when you're the most important guy on the team. The quarterback is everything, right?
I'll never blame someone
I'm
for
not.
trying to go. What I will blame someone is like someone like Ben Simmons.
Oh God,
who can't go. Just I get it. I follow.
Yeah. No,
I'll never blame someone for trying to go.
So what would be your fool's gold for fantasy football? Like someone that so let's define this. Fool's gold. Someone's picking up off the waiver wire that had a good couple weeks. Someone that might have not had a bad couple weeks and they think they're gonna, or they did have a bad couple weeks and they think they're gonna be trash, and it's fool's gold to get rid of them.
Well, fool's gold to get rid of him would be Saquon Barkley.
Okay, so
he went from 47 snaps to 85% of snaps.
Mm-hmm.
He played 2 of the top 10 defenses in football. That'd be a joke, something so silly to trade him away. Fool's gold for like pickups, like someone that you could pick up, any running back in San Francisco. It's a scheme system. It's a zone blocking.
There's a term called Shanahanigans, or what is it? Shanahanigans, or I'm saying it wrong, but you guys know.
His dad started it.
And but his dad usually pick a goddamn back at least.
No, he wouldn't. Outside Terrell Davis, he did the same thing.
Alanis Gary had a really good year. Mike Anderson,
a good year.
But
Mike Anderson,
but at least they would go in the year and be like, all right, well, this guy's running. You could be any 3 guys with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, they signed goddamn Kerryon Johnson to the practice squad, and they blew the dust off of Chris Thompson. I'm like, what's going on here? So, I don't disagree with you on that. I think fool's gold this week would be Cordell Patterson. I mean, how? To think that he's going to be the steady number 2 on the Falcons team is crazy. He's a gadget player. He catches with his body. He's a football player. He's a good football player, but he's not in a fantasy term.
See, the problem with Cordell Patterson is you have to be behind by 21 points for him to be relevant.
Right. And you know who's going to end up taking his spot as the backup running back? And if Mike Davis-Egger got hurt, it will be Wayne Gallman.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
They're getting caught up on the playbook. There's a reason why they signed him. If they were that comfortable with Cordell Patterson, they wouldn't have cut Quadri Allison.
How do you think San Francisco feels right now about not having Wayne Gallman?
They would have loved to definitely have Wayne Gallman. I mean, and they went with it because they were like, oh, well, we like Sermon, but apparently, Elijah Mitchell was better. And then, Jermichael Hasty, they liked ever since last year.
Mostert can't ever stay healthy.
Yeah, and I would hold on to Trey Sermon, though, in fantasy football terms, just to see.
But the problem with Trey Sermon was he's another back that was injured in college. You're talking about a guy who transferred, played 3 good football games, got picked in the 3rd round. Now everybody wants him in fantasy football. You got to understand the player before you're like, that's another, like, I get it.
But how do you trade up for a guy in the 3rd round and say, you know what, we're going with Elijah Mitchell? I mean, I just
play the best player. Same way the Seahawks signed Matt Flynn and started Russell Wilson. You play the best player. Somebody outplays him. You can't sell your team.
Matt Flynn got 2 decent contracts. I believe he got one from the Raiders too. Did he not?
He didn't get. He got traded. Well, he got. Was he traded or cut? But like they had to pick up his guarantee.
He parlayed one decent game where he came in for Aaron Rodgers into
Game
a
16.
lot of fucking money, and I'm just like, how is this possible?
Threw for 500 yards versus Detroit.
Oh my god!
I remember that.
Talk about a charmed life. So your fool's gold. That's my fool's gold. Final picks are: you're going Eagles. I'm going Dallas.
I'll go 31-28 Birds.
So you think we're gonna? You think? Wow. I mean, I would love that. You're telling me.
I think there's 2 or 3 X plays over 50-yard touchdowns.
Okay. Quez Watkins being one of them.
Quez, I think Slim Reaper gets a big one.
Okay. So do you think that? I mean, you can exploit that defense, right?
100%.
I think their linebackers are strong. They're not good in coverage. I think the Eagles, if they get a pass rush on them, they can make Dak have to throw the ball and not. It's I don't know, man. See, Amari Cooper, it's when Dak has time that he seems to get the Eagles outside a big play. Slay. I feel like there was a game where Slay was out and then he was burning us that game. I can't remember the game, but
it's the year before Slay.
It was the year before Slay.
It's the game when they got him in Dallas. And that was also the game with the worst offensive pass interference call I've ever seen in my entire life against Dallas Goedert. I will never, ever, ever, ever forgive the refs for that.
Or how about the fumble that wasn't really the fumble?
That same game.
It was that same game.
Same game. Cooper caught that tipped ball for a touchdown. It was like his first year in Dallas. The year after he got traded from the Raiders. I'm a weirdo, bro.
No, I remember that. And that was
2018.
Who was the kid from West Virginia that was a 4th rounder? And
Kamir Grugier-Hill?
No, he's a cornerback. I don't think he.
Oh, you're talking about
that's who.
Yes,
I
know.
That's who the tip ball was off of, right?
Oh, he went to Carolina and played well
Rasul
for a year
Douglas.
And got cut. Yep.
And that's who the tip ball was off. I felt so sick for in that game because it was such a freak play. I'm like,
yep.
I was like, you got to be shitting me. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck that. I want them to beat Dallas. My heart says pick the Eagles, but I'm just giving you my honest take.
What's your score? I want to see how far we're off next week.
Oh man. So you're going 31-28, right?
Yeah, you go low.
I don't know if I'm. It's so hard with division games are the hardest games to pick in all of football. I don't care what division it is, and and especially the NFC East division. Like you'll watch a Thanksgiving game against the Redskins, for example, and the Cowboys, and the Redskins will lose every other fucking game, and they'll somehow beat the Cowboys. So that's a lot of points, man.
I agree. It's Monday Night Football, so
I'm gonna go 28-24 Cowboys.
So you have a 7-point difference. So the Eagles score on the final possession versus not. Difference between my scores and yours.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
We both have Dallas scoring 28.
It's true. Wait, no. Didn't you say 31-20? Oh, you got the Eagles at 31-28. The Eagles winning it. Yeah, no, it's 7-point difference, yeah. I mean, that's where I think the difference is. Mike keeps making like weird, like swirling things like this. I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing over here. Anyway, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in to the first show.
We will be back.
We will be back, and there will be some more deep takes. We're going to put all the information out where you can get it, but you can get it on all the major podcast platforms. The Birds Deep Facebook page. Wire to Wire, Gene will give you some more in-depth sports talk outside of the Eagles every Wednesday night, and you can catch me on Thursdays for Take It Deep with E. Godfrey. That has nothing
Hilarious
to do with sports.
Hilarious show.
Thank you. And Wire to Wire, you get some really good deep takes, and it's a good mix because you got two Eagles. Shalley's an Eagles fan, right?
He is. He's just cynical.
And you got a guy that's a Brown. You got a guy that's a Browns fan, so he's been feeling pain forever. But with that being said, thanks for tuning in. And this is the Godfrey, not saying goodbye, just saying take it deep.